Welcome to Celebrity Sandwich.
ようこそセレブリティサンドイッチへ。
Hi, I'm Busuttil Nishimura, and today I'm making my chicken karaage sandwich for Celebrity Sandwich. Essentially, it's a fried chicken sandwich with some beautiful cabbage on fluffy white bread. It's something that I love to make with my partner, Nori, who's Japanese. We make it for family parties and gatherings, and it's really popular. You can use kind of any white bread. I use this special Japanese bread called shokupan, which is super fluffy, and it's something that my husband used to eat as a child. His dad actually used to order the Japanese bread from Kyoto just so they could have it at their house. It's super delicious and I hope you enjoy it. So today I'll be using some chicken. We've got chicken thighs, and these are quite small ones, which are perfect because you want it to fit in the one piece of bread. We're gonna marinate it with a really simple marinade. It's got some mirin, which you can get at the supermarket. It's just a really sweet kind of rice wine, which will add that depth of flavor to the marinade. You can absolutely leave it out if you don't have it. If you can't find it, it'll still be a delicious sandwich. Some soy sauce, some sake, sesame oil, some brown sugar for sweetness, grated ginger and garlic, and also an egg and some potato starch, which is going to bind the chicken and help it stick to the potato starch later on when we dip it in that. We're going to put it on our fluffy white bread with some mayonnaise, mustard, and a really fresh cabbage and spring onions with lemon juice and olive oil. So the first step of the chicken sandwich is to prepare the marinade. We're just gonna whisk it in a bowl with a fork, and I'm just gonna use this same fork actually to poke some holes in the chicken thighs, and that just kind of helps the marinade soak in, and the chicken's gonna kind of absorb those marinade juices because it is a quite quick marinade. You only need to leave it for, 30 to 60 minutes. You can leave it overnight in the fridge, but at room temperature for half an hour is plenty of time. So I've poked some holes with my fork, which is a fun thing to do. And then the marinade just goes in this little bowl. So first what I'm going to add is a tablespoon of mirin. If you don't have mirin, you can definitely leave it out, or you could add a sweet rice wine, or even dry sherry works really well. So I'm not gonna measure, about a tablespoon of the mirin, and about 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. This is just light soy, so just kind of regular soy. 3 tablespoons of sake, and you can use white wine. If you don't have any sake, that's perfect too. I'm gonna add a tablespoon of sesame oil, which just kind of adds that really roasty, toasty flavor, which is lovely. A teaspoon of brown sugar, which again adds that sweetness. I've got 2 cloves of garlic, which I'm just gonna add in, and about a centimetre piece of ginger, which I've finely grated. So I'm just gonna give that a little whisk first. And then I'm gonna crack in an egg. That goes into. And lastly, just some potato starch. This just again helps the marinade stick to the chicken really nicely. So about a tablespoon. If there's some lumps, that doesn't matter. You don't have to be too thorough with this at all. So we're just going to pop that straight onto the chicken. And you wanna make sure the chicken is really nicely snug in the tray, so that it kind of can hold all of that marinade really nicely. And just turn over the chicken a little bit so it's all coated. So now that the marinade is done, I'm just going to get the oil heating up in the pot, and we'll be ready to fry the chicken. This really is the kind of sandwich that made me start liking Japanese shokupan, the white bread. I think I was kind of scarred from my childhood of Wonder White sandwiches, but this just makes it so delicious. I remember being in Italy in Torino, and the tramezzini on that fluffy white bread. There's lots of overlapping things about Japan and Italy, about their sandwich culture, which I really love, and makes it feel familiar as well to me when I started making it. So I think it's almost ready. Okay, so the idea is you don't want to have too much of the marinade, of the excess marinade, so you kind of want to just dip it a little bit so it's mostly off. I've got the potato starch here, and you're gonna have to use your hands. We'll coat it a little bit first, but you really don't want too much. So I'm just going to make sure it's nicely coated. And any kind of like lumpy bits is actually going to fry and become really crunchy, so don't worry too much. So just shake it off. And I'm gonna add it into the hot oil away from me. I'm just going to sit it in. All right, perfect. I'll do the next one while that's frying. Try and keep one hand clean, unlike me. So you don't want to overcrowd the pan when you're frying. It brings down the temperature, but also the oil is going to rise up quite a bit. So we want to make sure that we're not overcrowding it. And when we put it in, you want to put it in from a low level, just kind of dip it in the oil so it doesn't stick down the bottom, and then away from your body. So we're going to just dip it in like that. And we'll let these ones fry for about 4 minutes until they're super golden, and then we'll drain them on the rack. So when I was a kid, my school lunches, we actually never really had that many sandwiches. It was always kind of tuna salads, a lot of cheese, salami, those kind of things in my lunchbox. And I did always try and swap, you know, the Vegemite sandwiches on white bread with my friends at school, but they didn't want my lunch. You know, I have such fond memories of being at the train station in Kyoto, picking up a sando from the convenience store. They weren't quite like this. You know, usually katsu, so the crumb version, pork with just the tonkatsu sauce. Really simple, but just so comforting. I think sandwiches are such a universal food, and we love them in our family, and this is a really delicious one to make at home. So the chicken's almost ready. I've kind of turned it 1 or 2 times. You don't want it to get too dark in colour, just a little bit golden. I'm just going to sit it on top of the rack here. So it's just going to drain underneath. We just keep on going until we've used all of our chicken, and then we're ready to make our sandwiches. So I finished frying my chicken, and I've got everything else I need to assemble the sandwich, and we're just gonna get into it. The first thing you need to do, you can actually leave the crust on if you like, but it is really nice with the crusts off. So we're just gonna cut all the crusts off. And actually, if you do this before frying the chicken, you can deep fry these too and roll them in cinnamon sugar for like a little rusk treat, which is kind of what they do in Japan. You can find them at the bakeries ready to go. And I'm just going to get my pieces of bread. On one side, I'm going to spread it with some mayonnaise. This is just Japanese Kewpie mayo, but any kind of whole egg mayo will work really well. So we're just gonna spread, be quite generous. You don't want to be, you know, too thin. And then another side with the mustard. So this is actually hot, strong English mustard. You can find kind of Japanese mustard, but this is perfect. It's almost identical. And it's up to you the way you order it. You know, you can put the chicken first, you can do the cabbage first, it's totally up to you. So in here, I do have just some finely shredded white cabbage, which I've soaked in some really cold water to keep it really crisp. And there's spring onion in there as well. I'm just gonna add a little bit of olive oil, some lemon juice, a little bit of sea salt, and some pepper. So I'm actually gonna put the chicken on first. So you just lay your piece of chicken however you like. I'm gonna top it with some of the cabbage. Looks so good. You can cut them on the diagonal or straight down the middle. This is how you kind of find them in the convenience stores, you know, sitting up like this in the packet, and super delicious, really crunchy. The chicken's still hot. Yeah, delicious. Unsliced. Always butter. White. Down the middle. Depends, both. Crunchy. Jam. BLT. Reuben. Karaage. Hector's Deli. I love their chicken schnitzel sandwich. So good. Food for sure, but of course sandwiches. And the thing to remember with this sandwich is definitely go for that soft, white, fluffy bread. Don't be tempted by, you know, crusty sourdough. You really want that contrast of crunch and softness. If you don't like cabbage, don't want to add any greens, completely leave it out. You know, a lot of the sandwiches in Japan are just the fried meat, the mayonnaise, mustard, and you're good to go. If you don't have chicken or you don't eat chicken, you can definitely replace it with pork. It would work really well. Or no, Nori's giving me the look again. Nori, do you want to try some? You got to give me your approval. Taste test.
Delicious.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make my chicken karaage sandwich. For more celebrity sandwiches, head to Victoria Together.